Please donate, subscribe, keep us on the air, because we are not paid by the Prime Minister's office. They keep all that money for their big salaries for themselves. Ginny Roth is with Crestview Strategy. She's a very smart strategist, advising governments and businesses. And I know, from knowing you for a few years, you watch what goes on in society. There's something called the victim culture. Part of it is with lawyers saying, oh, it's not your fault. No matter what you've done, it's not your fault. And we're going to sue other people. But it happens in culture where people say, oh, it's not my fault, and I'm going to go and attack somebody else. It's not positive in my view.
It's not good. And you know where I think it starts? Parenting. I mean, it sounds bad, but I think that is where it starts culturally. You've got millennials now, my generation, are becoming parents. Yeah. And it comes from a good place. I think it's well-intentioned. They want their kids to be looked after. They're really protective of their kids. They're more intensive as parents than they used to be. But they protect their kids so much that their kids don't learn how to be resilient. And they tell their kids, it's never your fault. It's never your fault. Let's get you a special accommodation. Let's get you and it's never, those kids never have to learn how to toughen up and take the blame and say, maybe there's something I could have done differently. But you know what? When you do take the blame and you do try to think about doing something differently, that's so empowering. That helps you be strong and be a leader and all those things. And I think our society is missing that now.
Well, I think you're right about the positive thing about it. But if you do that with children, you might have the Children's Aid Society being called on you, or teachers being called on you. I like those things where they say, if you picture this going to school through 5 feet of snow, then you're from the 80s. And now they cancel it.
But I think the only way that you change that is if more parents push back on it. Because someone might call Children's Aid Society on you, but that's absurd. And then the news will write about it. And I do think there's a bit of a silent majority here. Like, there are common sense people who say, wait a minute, that's ridiculous. Of course, an 8-year-old should be able to walk to school. Like, give me a break. Think about how much it's changed. It was not so long ago that was totally commonplace, totally normal, and it was good for kids. It taught kids how to be independent and resilient. And now I think you see it cropping up in the workplace, where everyone needs accommodations. No one's ever at fault. You see it cropping up in sports, in politics. Yeah, exactly.
We have so many politicians who have no idea the consequences of the things that they're advocating, and we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Yep. Yeah.
How do we? It looks like we're just bottoming out.
And you see it on the other side in politics, where remember when cabinet ministers used to take accountability? Think about how many cabinet ministers used to resign over mistakes that they'd made because they took accountability, because that was the role of ministerial responsibility. When does that happen now? When does a Trudeau cabinet minister resign because they made a mistake? It doesn't happen. They don't they're always the victim.
Even when they're in business and they shouldn't be in business, such as in Alberta, and even when they sign forms to be in business saying, I am Indigenous, and they're not.
Right.
They're lying.
That's right.
And they're making a profit.
That's right.
And those are Liberal ministers. I mean, it's unbelievable why we don't call anybody to account. Part of it's the press too, though, don't you think?
Yeah, I think that's right. There's a culture in media, in academia. I think part of it is a certain type of person is now in our elite institutions, dominant, and it's people with a certain worldview where there's no such thing as individual responsibility. There's always some systemic problem that you can blame. There's always that we come from a racist society or a sexist society, and there's always some system you can blame, and individuals don't take responsibility. And those people now are editors in newsrooms, they're profs in social science departments, they're in government, they're all through our institutions. And I think that's why you see people rebelling against the institutions and you see populist political movements.
I think you're right. Ginny, thank you very much. It's not my fault that we're late. It's her fault. 3 minutes. To those of you who have subscribed and donated, a heartfelt thank you. You're keeping us on the air. If you're watching and you haven't, please try to do so, because 4 years ago we started this show because there needed to be independent analysis. Now more than ever, with the Online Harms Act. Once that gets into law, it's been passed once by the House, there are going to be hundreds of bureaucrats censoring the news in Canada, censoring this show. We need to keep it on the air. Thanks for your support.